Hi, Gene Burnett from geneburnett.com. We're going to talk a little bit today about failing, testing, and maybe a little bit about cults. So, I'm here to tell you to get used to failing in your training. Whatever your training goals or level of application or theory or whatever. Pro boxers miss the majority of punches they throw. They're always failing, and the one who fails least probably wins. Even in daily life, if you're just doing Tai Chi as a kind of martial yoga to improve your balance, if you're constantly losing your balance and aiming for the balance point, losing it again, aiming for it, the less you fail to nail that balance point, which isn't even a point anyway, and the less you fail to stay there, which is impossible, and the closer your fails are to that balance point, the better your balance is. So to improve your balance or your punching, you have to pressure yourself to the point of failure. You can't live in a no-failure world and expect, to get stronger or better or more able to adapt to the changes that are coming and coming and coming in life. So if you want to improve your balance, it's not a matter of standing on one leg for X amount of time, although that is great. If you really want to improve your balance, see how long you can stand on one leg without pain or strain, and then work a little bit every day to steadily increase that amount of time. So test it to failure and then see if you can increase, go past that point. So if you're, basically in good shape, see your doctor if you have any concerns, but if you're in basically good shape with at least okay balance and you do what I just said, you should notice some pretty significant changes in balance like within a week. If you did it every day for a year, you wouldn't even recognize your old level of balance. So one thing to watch out for, if you're ever wondering, is this a cult? Like a group that you're looking at, or a teacher, or a martial arts school in particular? One way is to ask, do you ever see the leader fail? Are they showing you what they're working on, like kind of where their edge is? Do they actively pressure test their own stuff? Remember, that means to the point of failure, to really learn new things. Do they do it visually and teach this as part of the training, right? Do they model this basic truth, that there is no magic place to get to where you don't need to study anymore, where the future is just in the bag for you? That's a myth, right? So do they always win every time there's a visible encounter with their balance or with opponents? I think there are market forces at work here, but personally I believe there's a big untapped potential market for honest martial artists who don't hide or stop their own inner process of learning, and in fact include that as part of the teaching. If you don't fail regularly and in front of your students, I believe you're giving them a false sense of what practice is and how learning and strength work and how they're developed. So in order to find the weaknesses in your current skills, you need to pressure test them to the point of failure. If you want to find out what your balance weaknesses are, stand on one leg until you fail, and then notice what exactly failed. And from that, you could train to improve that aspect of your balance. The flawless master is a movie myth, and it leads to all kinds of problems. It promotes the idea, first of all, that this is possible. It's possible to be flawless, and also the idea that if it is possible, that this person somehow has authority over you in your practice because they can do it, right? So actual mastery, as far as I've seen in my whole life, of anything involves constant corrections, adaptations to time, to gravity. There's never a perfect anything. Perfect doesn't even exist because life moves too fast to even check for it. The thing you're checking is already changed into something else. So mastery is more of an orientation to me than an achievement. It involves constant change, and it means failures. Maybe not huge ones, but many, many, many small ones. So if you don't show this as part of your process, I think you're giving your students a false idea that you can reach a state where you're no longer working, no longer learning, no longer growing. The faultless master role attracts people who hate correction and therefore hate learning. They hate being vulnerable, and therefore they hate learning. They don't want to show any weakness, and they seek some kind of final perfected state that is beyond judgment, right? So if you hear words like final teacher, final enlightenment, final knowledge, final attainment or final mastery, I would take that as a red flag. That's getting to be culty. That's where it is starting to be authoritarian. I've achieved this. You must listen to me now. So they might even convince themselves that they have no weaknesses. But if they're not showing you the things they're working on, and I understand Chinese culture in particular has a face-saving priority, and you don't want to lose face or show your weaknesses because then your people could learn about them and exploit them and kill you and all this. But come on, this isn't the Middle Ages. This is now. No one's going to come kill you if you give away a secret at your internal arts dojo or whatever. So personally, I'm aiming for a state of dynamic, unforced balance between firm and yielding. Right? I'm aiming for a state of functional alignment with gravity. And I'm in the process of learning to fail less and less at that. Okay? And I'm always show my edges to my students, and so they know I'm not perfect, that there isn't some state we're trying to attain, and that a practice is an ongoing process, not an achievement. It's an ongoing process. And that failure is integral to that process, because if you never fail, you're not testing yourself. You're not anywhere near being able to feel your weaknesses. And believe me, weaknesses are coming. I don't care who you are. There's no 90-year-old master who's as strong as a 50-year-old master. You will lose things. And if you're not hip to those weaknesses happening as they are happening because you're pressure testing them, you're going to get infirm, overweight. You're going to pontificate. You're going to tell other people what you know, but you're not sharing what you're learning, and your body is suffering from it. So forget the faultless master. Never lose face in front of your students. Always show them the highest perfection ideal that you can. I say forget that. Show them the actual process. First of all, be in that process yourself. Be testing, be failing, be learning, and being accepting of the changing body that you have over time. That it's just because you could do something in the past doesn't mean you can do it now. So stay on that and teach that. Teach that whole process. Show that whole process as you go. When I have difficulty with a movement, because I'm aiming for a slightly higher level of doing that, or I've aged, or something has shifted or changed in my body that makes something more difficult than it used to be, that's the subject of my next lesson with a student. I show them, I'm having trouble with this, and this is how I'm improving that balance and doing that. Let's do it together. See if that helps yours as well. So I model my process of constant failing, testing, and correcting so that they get the idea that this is what my Tai Chi or posture or physical life is going to be like. It's going to be a series of failures and making corrections, and failures and making corrections. And hopefully the corrections get smaller. That's the main difference I see between an expert and a beginner, is the size and frequency of the corrections. Beginners make a small number of huge corrections, and experts make a huge number of small corrections. So don't pretend there's no corrections, or you too might be forming a cult. I am not forming a cult. My students well know what my challenging areas are, and we're working on them together, as well as the challenging areas for them. So that's my recommendation. Fail and share the failures, and then share your successes and adaptations to the failures that you learned and showed. So thanks for listening. I appreciate it. This is Gene Burnett, and my website is geneburnett.com. If you like this kind of thing, you can subscribe to this channel. I do Tai Chi videos, physical health type stuff. I do music videos, occasional nature videos. And I have a donation tip link underneath this video, but also over there on my website. Not expected or needed or required or anything. It's just nice to get a tip now and then. And mainly I'm doing this to be helpful. So if any of this is helpful, let me know. That always makes my day too. So take good care of yourself. Pressure test yourself. Don't be afraid to fail. And if you do, don't be afraid to show it. This isn't the dark ages where someone's going to see your failures and kill you. This is modern life where they kill you for no reason at all. All right, you take care.